The Justice Department has revealed more allegations against the Southern Poverty Law Center regarding the money the nonprofit allegedly provided to some of the same hate groups it was promising to fight, including the KKK. Last month, a federal grand jury returned an 11-count fraud and money laundering indictment against the SPLC. Now, according to a new superseding indictment, one field source, quote unquote, participated in recruiting new members using donors' money. In addition, an SPLC employee knew that the field source used donors' money to purchase material to make Ku Klux Klan garments for others, like, robes and hoods. That field source and another source were reimbursed by the SPLC with donor money for all expenses they had incurred for cross-burning events, to include the wood and the fuel used. The SPLC's attorney tells Fox News this apparent superseding indictment attempts to shore up the flaws in the initial charges, but it changes nothing. Senator James Lankford of the Homeland Security Committee joined me last hour on the Faulkner Focus.
This is an issue I've been ringing this bell for literally years on the Southern Poverty Law Center. They're a group that has gone after conservative groups. To see the corruption on the inside of it doesn't surprise me. I directly talked to the FBI under the Biden administration because they were identifying groups that were problems based on the report from the Southern Poverty Law Center, including, as you remember, the FBI going after traditional Catholics.
Kaylee.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm still waiting to hear from so many of those celebrities and businessmen who gave all this money to the SPLC, who are so silent now, and your money was going to fund hate groups, cross-burning. We learn more and more despicable things every day. And while the SPLC is doing this, what are they simultaneously doing? They're targeting Moms for Liberty. They were targeting Turning Point USA as hate groups. They were targeting Charlie Kirk. They were even at one point targeting, listen to this, Dr. Ben Carson, the nicest, most docile Christian man I have met, probably put him in the top 5. And what did the SPLC do? As they're funding cross-burning and reimbursing that, they're putting Dr. Ben Carson on the extremist file list. And then when they came under fire, this was in 2014, they pulled down Dr. Ben Carson's profile. It did not meet our standards. We've taken it down. We apologize. This group is despicable. This group shouldn't exist in the wake of this scandal. And I believe, as Chip Roy said, he thinks there's a greater, he has been told this, Marxist network at play that is being looked into by the Trump administration. He said he couldn't give more details than that, but I'm very interested to find out what other organizations that are left-wing out there are completely fraudulent.
I'm waiting for the civil part of the story, because if you were using donor money to pay for hoods and robes and the fuel and the wood to burn crosses, other things burn too. People were hurt. There are victims in this scenario as well. Is the SPLC on the hook for that?
Well, I think the attorney, by the way, that gave that statement to Fox is Abby Lowell. And yes, Abby Lowell is a very powerful, successful attorney in Washington circles. So when you bring in Abby Lowell, you know that you are in trouble and you're on the hook. I think one of the things that's interesting to me, too, though, in sort of a broader sense, is that we also know the SPLC gave money to the Unite the Rally people that were fomenting chaos in Charlottesville, Virginia. Joe Biden launched his campaign in 2020 with a 3-minute video that focused on Unite the Rally. And yet now we can look back and say he was literally launching a campaign based on something that was fomented by the money from the SPLC. And it's what a false flag operation that would have been, let alone what you're talking about with the KKK.
Cheryl?
Now we're learning that they were working with the FBI, the SPLC. And by the way, they're supposed to be eradicating poverty. That was the original back in the 80s. That was their original doctrine. But I don't think giving $3 billion out of donor money is part of eradicating poverty. I would say is exactly the opposite. And by the way, in that statement that Abby Lowell gave to Fox News Digital, he talks about the informant program. They actually say, oh, it's saving lives. We're doing the work that we had promised to do. But on the hate map, you're right, which they have. Turning Point USA, Moms for Liberty. These are the people that you're targeting. I'm so glad that you brought that up, Kaylee. And by the way, even progressives have now come out in the last several years and said that this group has become too radicalized. So this is, I don't think anything really new. The fact that we're learning all of this and this, obviously this complaint is new, and we'll see where the investigation goes.
Well, what Kaylee was talking about, though, is also key. Who knew that their money was going to this? I mean, it's pretty opaque, is what I understand. But now, are you no longer giving? Like, are those celebrities and those high-profile people now no longer giving to the SPLC? I wonder what the current data is on.
Well, they've been accused, by the way, of hoarding the money. That's for the progressives.
Well, and they should take a moment to read some of the revelations that we have in this new indictment. One of the things that stood out to me was that there were at least 3 individuals that the SPLC actually gave a salary to, and these individuals were associated with KKK, neo-Nazi groups, and they wanted to get out of those groups. And the SPLC went to them and said, no, we will pay you a salary if you stay in those organizations. And to Griff's point about Joe Biden's candidacy and how it was premised on the Unite the Right rally, and all, you know, the more that we learn about the dark money leftist wing, the more that I have to ask, how organic is any actual support in this country for the left? All of the No Kings rallies, all of the anti-ICE protests, how many of those individuals actually support those causes, and how many are simply being paid to be there? And I say that as we head into midterm season because there is a concerted and deliberate effort right now to demoralize conservatives and make them believe that a blue wave is inevitable. And I actually think the reality on the ground is very different. And I think we can look to what's happening in California right now as an example of that.
Good one.
The momentum behind Spencer Pratt, the momentum behind Steve Hilden, and how a number of voters are finally coming forward and saying, you know what? We want common sense governance. And they have associated the lack of that with the left-wing movement. And so that is why these leftist organizations have to spend so much time and energy manufacturing enemies on the right, stigmatizing conservative beliefs, because it's the only way they can get people to support their cause. And I think that we're finally seeing the taboo break on that. And I think that's what's going to carry us in November.
All right. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.